To make the round wooden frame, I first need to make 2 hexagons. So I set the adjustable miter box to 60 degrees. I have already pre-cut the 12 slats that I need. They are made of 1 centimeter thick oak. I check that the 60-degree angle is properly set, and I make the first cut on all 12 slats. Once I have cut them all, I check the angles on the other side of the miter box, and if necessary, I readjust the angle on the other side of the miter box. At that point, I have already calculated the shape and the size of the workpieces I have to make. I am going to make these cuts. So, I measure the length the pieces must have. And I use that length to set a stop block on the miter box. Here I made the first cut. And now when I switch sides, it gets stuck. No problem, because I can remove this fence. This is a flat piece, so it could be cut on the same side of the miter box, but if it were a molding, I'd have to cut it from the other side of the box. So let's look at that case. Okay, looks good. We will see later how the hexagons turn out. Here we have the 120 degrees that form the sides of a hexagon. Alright, I have cut all the pieces to the same size. I sand off the burrs, and let's build the 2 hexagons. I don't need to apply a lot of pressure on both sides of the joints, but I do want the joints to be flat. I am not clamping against the workbench. Notice that I placed some scrap boards under the hexagons. The trick to making a round and sturdy frame will be gluing the 2 hexagons like this, one overlapped on top of the other. But first, I carefully sand the surface. I find the center of the outer sides of one of the hexagons. And draw lines connecting opposite sides. The other hexagon will go on top like this, with its joints aligned with the lines I just drew. That way it will be well centered on top of the other. What I am doing now is to know exactly where to apply the wood glue. The most fun part is clamping like there is no tomorrow. The paper is so that the parts I added to the cheap clamps, shown in another video, which help apply pressure more evenly without leaving marks, don't get glued by the squeezed out glue. Now, in these corners, I measure the distance between them. I measure the distance, and I need to make another 120-degree cut. Notice that I already cut one end of that board at 120 degrees. 60 from one side, plus 60 from the other. This piece is very important because it will help me cut the outer circle. I find the center, and now, the metal plate I want to frame measures 30 centimeters in diameter. So, the radius is exactly 15 centimeters. I marked 15 centimeters at several points around the hexagon. These marks allow me to center the plate. And now, I'm going to cut the inner circle of the frame 1 centimeter smaller. I want the inner circle to be 14 centimeters, and the outer one to be 17. This is the 14 centimeter mark. And those are the circles I need to cut to make the round frame. I will cut them with the jigsaw, and then I will trim them with the router to make them perfect. For the outer circle, I use my jig and the double pivot point trick. I change the pivot point and finish cutting the outer circle. Hey, what just happened there? Something moved, and the end of the cut doesn't match the beginning. Let's see what happened. What moved? Look at that jump. Well, look at this. This pivot point is loose. Okay, I found a screw that fits snugly into the bearing. The previous screw was loose, and I had it adjusted with Teflon tape, the kind used in plumbing for sealing threads. And when the tape gave way, the bearing started to wobble. Now it is fine, but I have to readjust the cutting jig to this new size. And I go over the entire perimeter. Now it is a perfect circle. And look at the clean cut my bearing-guided jigsaw jig makes. This simple piece will help me mark the inner circle. Now I need to cut it, and then I will trim it. That black tube is a makeshift vacuum system that I added to my benchtop jigsaw. It actually works quite well. It is time to trim it and make it perfect. I leave links in the description. The first one is for how I made this 2 pivot point router jig. In that video, I talk about some mishaps I had. How strange. Which I am not showing in this video. With this cool attachment, I make a rabbet on the back of the frame. The rabbet is to fit the metal plate. I route the rabbet slowly, millimeter by millimeter. Here I am on the second pass. a bit more. I fill some imperfections with wood filler and sand the inside of the frame thoroughly. Now that the frame has a smooth and well-trimmed inner surface, I can use this trick with 2 bearings to trim the outer edge. Check that out. And finally, the frame is ready for sanding and varnishing. I sand it carefully, because it is a project I have wanted to make for a long time, and it allowed me to make several videos with interesting woodworking jigs and tricks. I varnish it. Some light sanding. Second coat of varnish. And those 2 hexagons have turned into a beautiful frame for this Beatles plate. I should have made the rabbet a little deeper, to be able to insert the nails horizontally. But, oh, well, they are made of soft metal. I insert them vertically and bend them over. And look at that. What a beautiful frame. I am going to wrap it as a gift for myself. Thanks for watching the video. And if you like my videos, subscribe and hit the bell.